Well, the original plan was that there was going to be a major hotel complex built on that site. And so the thought was to pick up the house, move it over a few meters into the park, plop it down, and then build a hotel next to it. I never particularly liked that plan. It just didn't make much sense to me, particularly because that park is not a very good park anyway. So when and it was very expensive. You see, the house had been stripped of the urban fabric around it. It was just, as you can see, it's just sort of sat there. And so the idea was, how do we do a better job of taking a nod to the history of the neighborhood and doing something that's useful with this instead of making it a house museum? And so when the developer of the land went into some distress and the hotel plan fell through, I encouraged CMLC to buy the whole thing, which they did, the whole block I mean, so that we could actually make a smarter plan to maybe leave it in place, figure out a way to incorporate it into a new development so that it would actually get some use rather than being preserved and kind of stuck in amber. And that work was still continuing. In fact, just the last fall, we did a tour for the CMLC board members of the house to kind of figure out what we were going to do about it. And it's a real shame that we ended up in a situation where we just won't have that opportunity now. It certainly wasn't something that was ignored. In fact, when you think of the structural integrity of the building, CMLC actually spent a bunch of time and money shoring up the foundation, making sure that the building was safe structurally, so that when the final development plans came in place, it could really be a part of that. In terms of people getting in, look, it was unbelievably cold over the weekend, and people will do what they need to do when it's unbelievably cold. We don't actually know what happened, but we can probably guess that someone got in to try and stay warm and ended up with that fire. It's a terrible situation, a horrible situation, but you weren't gonna, have a 24/7 security guard sitting at the door to make sure nobody gets in. You gotta always balance these things off.
Regrets on what you had previously sort of decided about moving forward on redeveloping this?
And no, I deeply regret what happened, but it would not have made any sense to pick it up, to spend $3 million, pick it up, move it over a few meters, and then plop it down and leave it there when we didn't know what the rest of the site was going to do. And so it was the right thing to do, but it's a real shame we've ended up in this situation. But I will say that, some years ago, over the summer, it really started to bother me that the city was not looking after its heritage assets. So I came to council that fall and made a big move to take $40 million to actually cover all of the heritage assets we own and bring them all up to code. I was very excited about that. Council supported it. We went forward with it, and then a piece of stone fell off of historic City Hall. And all the money, not all the money, but a big chunk of it had to be moved over to work on Old City Hall. And so it really is important for us to make sure that not only are we looking after our heritage assets, but we're actually putting our money where our mouth is and making sure that we are able to fund these things and get private sector partners to help us fix them.